Hey there, guys. This is Flamzeron, aka YouTube's Toske. With every series that you read or watch or whatever, and you become a big fan of it, there's always some stuff that you will change. And since I've read the manga of Dragon Ball now, and I'm a big fan, I figured I should give my thoughts on the one thing I would change. And yes, there really is one thing. I've just excluding GT because there actually is a few things I would change about that. But the only thing I would change about Dragon Ball Z, or just Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z's, the whole Mecha Frieza thing. I think that could have been done a little differently, mainly because I don't really like the idea of a villain who was just defeated coming back immediately. I mean, I get that Mecha Frieza is there solely to introduce Trunks, and that's not. It's kind of cool, to see you know the previous villain who was so powerful get beaten by like the new guy to introduce an even more powerful foe. And I do like the idea of Frieza being reduced to like a robot. I think that's kind of cool that he comes back. Just this on the grounds that he comes back. I think that's interesting. But I don't like how and I mean, I know that they say it's been like 5 years since Frieza and whatnot, but and there's also the filler, which helps a little bit. But you're reading a fictional story. Those 5 years or whatever, they actually haven't really passed. And I would say like, well, in the story, it says 5 years, but I mean that's just text. That doesn't really mean much. I mean, it's like, okay, so that time has passed, so it's been a while, but like I said, that time hasn't passed, so you don't actually feel like it's been 5 years unless you took a break from reading it, or I don't know, like it really was 5 years or something. So Frieza, he comes back like almost immediately after Goku defeats him. So I mean, and in Kai, there's literally like one episode of a break, and in the original, there's the whole Garlic Jr. stuff, which kind of helps a little bit. But still, knowing that it's filler and that it actually is not in the canon, I just don't like how he comes so quickly, and I feel like he doesn't really have much of a purpose there. I think it would have been. I do like what they did. Like, I think what I would have done was had King Cole come in and be the one who fights Trunks, and that I think that's more fitting because one, it's a new character, and two, I think it's implied that King Cole is supposed to be a little bit stronger than Frieza, or at least that's the way I saw it. Have him be the one to come down to destroy Earth to get revenge on those who beat up his son, and then Trunks comes here and he's like, oh, where's Frieza? I was expecting Frieza. Where is he? He's like, King Cole's like, oh, well, we're rebuilding him and fixing him up, so he's still in the ship. And, it could be like he was sleeping or something. Well, Trunks, kills King Cole, blows up the ship, thinking that Frieza is dead for good. And then, like, the end of the series, like, where Oob is, Frieza comes back. That's what I would do. And, like, come back in the World Martial Arts Tournament and have him fight Oob and get his booty hole kicked. That's what I would do. Just because I feel like he came back too quickly. And yes, like I said, I do understand that he's there solely to bring in Trunks, or maybe not even solely, just because. And I don't know, maybe Akira Toriyama liked Frieza. I mean, he's actually a pretty cool villain. I'm more of a cooler kind of guy, but, Frieza is an interesting villain. Anyway, I think he came in too quickly, and I do like that he did come back, don't get me wrong, but I think he came in too quickly. I think they should have waited a little bit. If they really wanted to bring him in, they didn't really need Frieza to come in, for this. They could have just, I mean, there isn't really much you can do, and it works. It actually works very well, actually, but I just, if I were to change something in Dragon Ball, I think that would be the one, just because, one, it's like Goku just defeated Frieza, so he's coming, and then he comes back, and it's like, really? And then, 2, you know, it hasn't even, like, it says it's been like a few years or so, but to the reader, that time actually hasn't passed. So it doesn't feel like it's been 5 years or so. So, again, Frieza just was defeated, and then here he is coming back. So it's like, really, you know, it's like kind of like, oh, guess what? He comes back. That's really my only complaint. I just feel like, there's not much of a gap in between the time of when he was defeated by Goku and when he's killed by Trunks. And that's just me. And, Mega Frieza's an interesting character. I mean, I had an action figure of him. I think it broke, but that's just my thoughts. I think that they should have waited on doing the whole Frieza thing. I do like the idea of him coming back, but I think they should have waited, like maybe near the end. Plus, it'd be kind of like like a look back and it's like, oh yeah, Frieza, oh he's back, oh that's interesting. And I remember King Cold mentioned it. Oh, I thought he was in there because I survived or something, like I escaped like at the last minute or something. And then Oob just like beats him up and like he gets into the tournament, like, but he goes in by like a different name. And I don't know, maybe they could hint something like Vegeta's like, I don't know, his power seems kind of familiar. They could do that. I think that'd be pretty interesting if they wanted to. That's just me. But yeah, that's really the only thing I would change in Dragon Ball. That's the only thing I would change. Everything else I think is perfect. And yes, even the dog shooting scene where they shoot B, just because Hercule comes in and beats the crap out of the guy who shoots him, so that kind of makes up for it. Because one, it's revenge on they're getting revenge, for the puppy killing. And two, it shows Hercule being a friggin' badass. So yeah, that's what I feel about the whole Mega Frieza thing, and the only thing I would change in the series. I'm gonna do more Dragon Ball videos. Like, I think the next one I'm gonna do is like my top 10 favorite attacks, and I'm gonna do my history of like how I got into Dragon Ball, and then I'm also gonna do my top favorite character, or like I'm gonna go more in depth with my favorite characters and talk about them at greater length, or a little more because I don't want it to be over 15 minutes. But yeah, that's it for Dragon Ball stuff. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.